right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of Scripting the Book. Today, we are going to be talking about Damsel, the novel written by Evelyn Skye, because there are more than one damsel out there. And we'll be talking about the Netflix movie starring Millie Bobby Brown. So, before we get started, I'm going to let my wonderful co hosts introduce themselves and let you know where you can find them at. We're going to go ahead start with Natalie. Take it away.
There we go. I'm a little too active on that mute button. I am Natalie Locke, also I was about to say also known as, I was like, no, it's Natalie Locke. That's the, but I do flash fiction. I am a co-author of 1,000 Words to Get Started, which is coming out in November. I forget the date. And it's a writing prompt book. My counterpart, Chandra Arthur, and we both do a monthly flash fiction stream, and it's really a lot of fun. I highly recommend flash fiction because I have completely removed the blank page paralysis thanks to constant flash fiction.
Nice, that's awesome. And I am Ben Pick. Every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, I give questionable writing advice through writing metaphors on my channel, Writing to Write, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm also author of 3 books behind me. They're my urban fantasy series, Teenagers with Superpowers, and Fighting Monsters. My own writing, I'm working on the 4th book, but that has basically come grinding to a halt due to some life things going on. But working through those and just writing basically a chapter a month, which is extremely slow, but that's the pace I can handle for right now. So,
hey, know yourself. You're still moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Can't hear you, Peach. So you just went on mute. Okay, yeah. So today we're discussing Damsel, and this is Millie Bobby Brown, Robin Wright, and Angela Bassett in the movie. But as always, we're going to talk about the book first. There won't be any spoilers in the book that we're going to disclose in case anybody wants to read this kind of cold. And when we talk about the movie, we won't do any spoilers from the book compared to the movie yet. Don't worry, you'll have warning ahead of time. As always, I'd say we can at least do a show of hands. Was anybody a dislike? All right, anyone a like?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now,
okay.
Nia.
And we're on the book, right?
Yep. So, nope. Now we're pausing because you're going to introduce, hey, we're on your channel.
I'm going to put the banner up. Go take it away, Natalie. We're going to go through the dislike, neutral, like, and love. I love letting you do it. Go right ahead.
Okay. So neutral, like, for the book only, by the way, and love. I'm kind of in between.
Yeah, I'm almost to a love on the book. I really enjoyed it. There were some things. So
Nia, how about you introduce your channel and then you can give your take of why you're liking.
Yeah. So you're here on my channel. I'm Nia, the Vixen of Fiction. I am a writer of fantasy, historical fiction, sci-fi, and I also do romance, and I like to mix those genres. And yeah, you're here on my channel. I have a lot of fun. I stream on Tuesday nights if you ever want to come hang out with us, or writer folks and book lovers. You can come hang out with us, chat, and get things done with us on Tuesday evenings here on YouTube. All right, so we're going to talk about why we are where we are, and who was the lowest on the neutral like. I think Ben and I were the like. Okay, go ahead, Ben. Why were we a like on this? What kept it from being a love? Oh, now Ben's muted.
I swear we're professional here. Anyways, yeah. It's a Sunday. We're all moving really slow. So I think that the book has a really interesting premise. It's a twist on your typical damsel in distress. Spoiler ahead towards our next section, but the movie actually comes out and says that this is not your typical damsel in distress story. The book is a lot more subtle in how it does that, which I appreciated. And the entire time I was reading the book, I kept thinking like, wow, this is a really cool scene. This is really incredibly written. We are honed in on the main character, Elodie, we are honed in on her thoughts, her worries, how she's progressing, and everything about that. And the entire time I'm reading the book, I'm thinking like, wow, because I know I read the book first, then watched the movie, and I'm like, how would I film this scene? And the entire time I was thinking like, I don't know how I would make this a compelling movie, TV show, whatever, because there's just so much of an internal struggle that was really interesting, but it would be really difficult to convey on screen. And so the entire time I was reading the book, I was thinking like, how would I do this scene? How would I do this? How would I do this? And so it's a really interesting book. It takes you to some very dark places on whether or not it's worth sacrificing 3 women each year to appease a dragon for prosperity. And I enjoyed it. Characters are good.
Yep. And I'm probably not quite out of love with the book, but I really, really liked it. And for a lot of the things that Ben just said, and also that I watched the movie before I read the book. And for me, it was almost eye-opening into some of the reasonings. And we'll get to more of that when we talk about the comparisons of, because there were a lot of things that I was like, oh, that okay, so many, especially with characters, I was like, it just made things make sense, if that makes sense. So I really enjoyed the book. I almost wish that I had read the book first, but that's okay. And we'll talk about what the book does to the movie after you read the book, and then you're like, okay, I read the book. Okay. So, but Natalie, you are above us on this.
I would say like to love, mostly because so I watched the movie first and I was like, okay, interesting premise and such. Especially the I'm gonna save myself Fiona from Shrek moment type thing. But then or even Brave, I'll shoot for my own
I love all those
situation. But the reason that I'm close to love is because the extra that the book had that the movie didn't, I mean, just the normal thing that you get in a book where you're inside the main character's head more. And that's not a spoiler. Trust me, that's in any book, the movie adaptation that's done in first person, or third person acute. So I like that, but then the world building was a little bit stronger in the book. So I think that keeps it safe as possible. But that's why I was a like to love to the book. So the book itself, I'll just go ahead and kick it off. It was more in, it was engaging. It was like you had some buildup of Elodie in her homeland and such, and you had this strong urge for her and understanding of why she is willing to get married. I will say there is one thing with the book, and it's with the book, I keep on trying to compare. With the book, it's just easier to not do the math in your head of how big the world has to be for the offering to be accomplished and stuff. As well as logistically, like who is like as generations roll over, like there's got to be at a certain point nothing happening, right? Like so anyway, that hopefully that is vague enough for.
That's also one of the points where the movie and book differ.
One of the things that I really enjoyed about the book, it's got, as you're reading it, the eeriness of what's going to happen. I did wish that there was I wish that there was a little bit more foreshadowing, but I think it did a pretty nice job. And I'm just going to say, I'm not sure if it was because I'd already seen the movie, because I did watch the movie first, but I wish that there was a little bit more of the foreshadowing as we were going. It was fine. But there were a lot of times as you're reading that you're just like, this isn't a red flag. This isn't a red flag. But also understanding that she's young, she's like Natalie said, she really, in the book, you really feel that she's got this sense of, I'm going to help my people. So it's this pushing some things to the side. This looks a little weird, but okay, we're gonna do this. And it also shows how, even when we're good-hearted, good-natured people, sometimes the flashy and the glitz and the ooh and the ah can kind of, give us those rose colored glasses of what's going on. So I think that the book does a good job of showing this and really getting into your head the thought processes. And I love that the way that the book interweaved what had happened with what is going on now. So you're going to, as you're reading, and you're getting to the thick of the plot, you're going to get this nice layered interweaving of the history. And as someone who loves the world building and loves to know the why of things, I love getting those. There are times where I'm like, that could be its whole own book. Can I get that book? You know, you know what I mean? But it was very intriguing. It kept me wanting to know what's going on, what's happening. And every time we went back to those past scenes, didn't feel like I was being interrupted, if that makes sense. Sometimes when you get those flashbacks, you're like, okay, do we need to know this? Yes, you do. In this one, just pay attention so you don't miss something. Anybody else? No spoiler thoughts on the book before we All right, let's go on to oh, and I did put novel, but we're on the movie. Let me edit it really, really quick.
Sorry, what was that?
We're getting
Nothing.
we're getting ready to move on to
That's fine.
the movie, and we will do movie spoilers when
Yes.
we talk about this one. So dislike, anybody a total dislike on the movie, can't salvage it. All right, neutral on the movie. I'm probably more of a neutral. I tried to get to the like, but there were some issues that kept it from getting to the like for me. And Natalie, are you also on the
I'm
neutral?
neutral to like, maybe even more like, but I am thinking of my mindset of watching the movie first.
And I will say, before I read the book, I was very much more in the like department than I read the book, and it knocked the book from a like to a neutral. And it was a low like, but it was still a like. It was still a like, but reading the book definitely put it more into the neutral. So, do we want to start with the highs or the lows of when it comes
Let's
to
do low. I'm
All right,
here for it.
Ben,
All right,
let
we
us
can
have
only
it.
go up from here. So
Yes,
my
there we go.
problems with the movie, everything. Like I mean literally everything. The characters, they have an unsatisfactory conclusion to their arcs, if you can even call it that. The set design is uninspiring. Every single in the movie version, every single person in the story is a villain, even like the heroes that you're rooting for. And the ending, without going into spoilers, is the worst ending I have seen in recent memory. Not only that, but well, we'll get into spoilers later, so I'll save that thought. But
Oh, we can do spoilers. I had the wrong thing clicked. There we go.
Yeah.
no. We oh, do you want me to
Damsel
go
the
into
movie.
spoilers?
Yes, you can do movie spoilers.
Tear it
Everybody
apart, Ben.
knows.
Come on.
Okay.
Yep. Go
Based
ahead. Movie
on
spoilers on it only.
based on the world in which the movie has created, which is every single person in Elodie's kingdom is going to die. That was established before, like that was the whole thing. They actually had a line in there of like, we aren't going to survive the winter, blah, 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 blah. So this is why Elodie needs to be sacrificed.
Game of Thrones, winter is coming.
Yeah.
But because of Elodie's actions, they're all going to die. Like, she didn't save anyone. They're 100% going to die. So not only did she ruin the country she went to, but she also destroyed her own country. And then
I wouldn't count her ruining Bad Country. They had it coming.
Yeah.
Okay?
They bought into this whole thing.
But that's the thing. No one knows. So in the world of this is going to be a huge debate. But in the world of the movie, the kingdom technically, as far as the civilians are concerned, they did nothing wrong because everyone who killed the dragon's babies died instantly. So they have no idea why they're being punished. So from their point of view, they're being attacked by a dragon who, you know, obviously the dragon is entitled to defend their young, but the people, the civilians, they have no idea about that because again, everyone who was there involved in that moment was and
they were at okay, we do spoilers. They were at the second wedding though too. They were all at the wedding,
yeah,
so you can't say the people.
They do know because they're like,
so
otherwise, why would it be like, okay, we're just gonna do 3 weddings, one every other day, and this is perfectly normal. You know,
keep in mind there's a big difference in the movie and the book where it's once a generation. So once a generation, you sacrifice 3 people to save hundreds of thousands. Like that's the math in the movie doesn't quite work out. In the book, it's a little bit different because it's once a year. You sacrifice 3 different people.
The math in the movie to me makes more sense. I enjoy the math in the movie because to me there's only there's a finite. Sorry, we just made a comparison. There's a finite amount of people in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I felt like that too. I felt like there were a few things that I thought were better in the movie, and we'll get to comparisons, but I actually liked the generational versus was it every year? Was it every year?
It was every year.
That's insane.
I know. And they had the amount of girls as a boy. Sorry, we opened this can of worms from Moneyball. But we had a prince as a boy being married off already because it was once per year because his never mind. I'm not going to say why. I'm going to try to hold back.
And so in the book, there's like this fun, this moment is actually a twist, but in the movie, the prince is neither handsome nor charming and has no reason why Elodie should marry him short of transactional. Like they had no chemistry together. They had nothing really going for him. And then Robin Wright's character is just absolutely a monster from the get-go. At least in the book, she was like nice and she was kind and she was trying to make Elodie feel like she would be an actual daughter. And then there was a turn at some point. Whereas within the movie, she's looking down at Ellie. She gets her name wrong, multiple times. And there's no actual twist in there. It's just like people kind of just going from one thing to the next.
Yeah. I felt like those things, like again, there were, and I don't want to compare, but there were a few things that I liked better in the movie than in the book. And in that case, when we're talking about things that are foreshadowing, I almost like, because a lot of those moments, you get a lot of these moments between the stepmother, and her character, and I put myself in the stepmother. The stepmother also does not know what's going on, but the way that she's thinking, these things that are happening, she's like, something's not right. And is it her place to say? And then by the time she realizes that we are in movie spoilers, by the time she realizes something is terribly wrong, she is limited on getting access to the girls and trying to convey, you don't have to do this situation. I feel like for a side character, I saw that side character's arc a lot quicker in the movie. You could see it, and I almost felt like she was us looking through that lens of, oh, this is wonderful. Wait a minute. Is it? What? This is weird. This is weird. This is really weird. To something is wrong. You know what I mean? So that I did like, because in the book, everything is fine for everybody until it's not. And then all of a sudden it's not. And so I like that build up because it helps build up the dread almost. And I like that feel, even though I don't like horror, but in these dark fantasies, I like that dread build up. And it could be because I watched the movie before I read the book. I knew that it was there, but I didn't feel it at that point. Once everything started happening in the book, yes, I felt it, because we're going, but I really thought that there are a few things that the book did better. This is one of them. The getting to see um, what the very suspicious sides of the queen. I liked seeing those, and I liked that we have the stepmother who's off on her own is the one who's giving us this eyes view of the something's not right. While everybody else is like gold and dresses and cakes and things, and we're gonna ignore the girl being told she's gonna be eaten by a dragon. We're just gonna ignore that because everything's gonna be fine. She's being picked on by boys. You gotta, and that's fine. That's fine. And then in the juxtaposition of the stepmother, like talking to this woman, we're gonna be family. So it's like, are we though? No, you're down here, we're up here. Go away. You know what I mean? That's where it's like, this is sus, run. So yeah. So anybody else? Because I can go on and on about that. Just
I was going to say
I like that. I like that dread. I like that dread build up.
I'm ready for the comparison at this point.
Well,
Yeah.
Don't you all want to say what you like?
Yeah, that's one of the things I liked. Before reading the book, I thought that it went along. It gave me what I wanted for the most part. Some of the visuals were not great. Some of them were really great. I thought the character, I liked her. I liked that she wasn't like, oh, I'm just a flowery little girl who can't do anything, and now all of a sudden I'm a total badass who can conquer a dragon. She already had skills, and so you could see her utilizing skills that she had already had to adapt to, this is a situation I'm in now. She was already like chopping wood and doing things. She'd had a pretty hardy upbringing. Even though she was the nobility of her village, things were rough. So you get the sense that she's now utilizing the things that she learned growing up to try and get her out of the situation that she's in now. She didn't go from, I never walked a mile to all of a sudden I can, I'm climbing things. You could see that she probably never had to do it like this, but she could do it. And especially with the adrenaline pumping, we're in survival mode. It was more feasible. It seemed realistic in that sense. And I liked her acting. I'm trying to, a lot of the characters unfortunately were so flat that I'm trying to like who had good arcs. I think we saw the dad's arc a little bit. It wasn't too bad to where, he has the turnaround, even though I'm just like, dude, I don't know. He confused me. I feel like after your daughter's been taken away to be fed to the dragon is not the time to change your mind, but he did, so that's fine. The stepmother, when we get into comparison, made more sense as a character because you're wondering how these two people end up together. She's more this stoic, stern woman, and all of a sudden you're like, you see her arc kinda, but you do learn more about her arc in the book. But you see her arc starting earlier. Yeah, I think I'm like, do we need to get into comparisons? But visually, there were parts of it visually that looked good. And then there were some times where it's like the CGI is screaming at me, So I wish that they could have been more even kill with getting the CGI spot on the whole way through. But there were scenes that looked really good, and there were other scenes that didn't look so good. But that's okay. It happens. Anybody else? And then we can just go ahead and start comparing, because this is really hard, because especially for me and Natalie, because me particularly, because my opinion changed because I read the book second. And I'm like, this is why though. It was fine before. And now it's less fine because I read the book. So, you guys ready to get into comparing?
Are we ready, please? We've been trinkling this like the whole time, going,
Whole
whoops,
time.
we opened this
Whole
can.
time. So who wants to start? Yeah, let's start with the bad, and then we can move into the. Hate
Okay.
to do it to you, Ben. It's okay.
No, it's fine. So in the movie, there's no actual blood magic. There is, I mean, it is there, but they didn't actually explain any of it. So it just is like this weird thing that just keeps happening. And in the book, yeah, there's so the royal blood, so when they get married to the prince cuts his hand, and then they cut the princess's hand, and they mix their blood together, and that's the blood that the dragon senses, and there's magic in the blood so that Elodie is then able to recall memories from past princesses. And, you know, there's blood within the cave, so she'll touch it and she'll get a memory, she'll absorb a memory to her. But in the movie, there is none of that. There is no actual magic in the movie. I mean, they did a sloppy job of trying to shoehorn it in where you saw the princesses, and there's actually a scene where one of the princesses looks at the camera, or in this case, you know, it's implied that it's Elodie, but she looks at the camera and says, "It's a lie." But at that point, Elodie has been told so many different lies that there's no way she can know exactly which one they're referring to. And of course, because of that, Elodie has to come out and say exactly which lie is being told to her. But because there's no blood magic, it means that the dragon isn't going to have any young new dragons in the movie. So that dragon is just going to die off in some foreign land. And I guess in the book, I kind of assumed that was a combination between the dragon and the volcano that was giving fertile land to the kingdom. But that means that kingdom in the movie is just going to completely die off because now they have no ruling body, which means they're going to be a civil war. They're bringing one ship back of supplies, which can't have nearly enough food to support the entire Elodie's original kingdom, which means that their kingdom is now going to be exterminated. And the book aged up. No, sorry. The movie aged down the damsel Elodie in the book. Elodie was supposed to be like a 20-year-old, and Millie Bobby Brown looked, I don't know, 16 maybe. But it was made even worse by the makeup job that she applied during the wedding, which made her look like an 8-year-old who had just gotten into her mother's makeup. There's no nice way of saying this. Like, everything about the movie, it made her feel even younger and less experienced.
It was like toddlers and tiaras.
Yes. Yeah. So it looked like a child trying to play dress up, which only emphasized that the character of Elodie is younger in the movie than she is in the book.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's I got a lot more, but I think I've kind of shared my parts. Characters. So Elodie in the book is extremely intelligent. She's a climber. She like climbs trees. She does all these other physical things, and she is really great at maps. In the movie, there's a scene where she is doing a map, but that doesn't really do anything. Oh, that's even worse.
Mazes,
it was basically
labyrinths.
mazes.
Actually.
Thank you. Yeah. So in the movie, it felt like it was one of those like restaurant maps that you give to children to sort of color through when she was sitting on the bed. Like, that was what I thought of it, because again, she looks like a child. And in the book, she's like designing maps to give to her sister that then her sister goes through. It was like a way of entertaining her. So we have in the book, Elodie is extremely intelligent. She is able to draw and analyze maps. She's really, I don't know how to describe it, but it's very analytical of the world around her. She's great at climbing. So those are like her three main skills. Whereas in the movie, none of that's really ever explained. There is a map in the safe room, but it is not complex at all. It is basically just like a straight line with 3 rooms.
Yeah. Was the mazes not explained in the movie about
No.
her sister?
It showed her. It showed that
most,
she gave a love letter. She gave a love letter to the prince, which has a heart on it. It's like, oh, what's that shape? but the movie doesn't actually show it's a maze. It like does a really quick thing of it. And if you don't understand, if you hadn't read the book and you know what it's supposed to be, you would just say like, oh, it was gone too quickly to recognize that it was actually a maze. It just looked like a heart from the split second that was on screen.
She like in the movie, it's been a while, she at least gave one of the little mazes to her sister, but it wasn't like it wasn't as noticeable or type thing. Most of it would have been, I made this for you, or here's the latest one, or something like that.
Even if it were, though, the maze that she's ultimately trying to solve of the Dragon's Cave, like in the book, it's this really elaborate thing, and she has to memorize like go left, 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 right, blah 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 blah, and it's really complicated. In the book, it is like, here's the entrance, here's the safe room, here's the way out. It is like there's no maze. It's
in the movie. It's like you just got to remember which chambers are which versus the path from each chamber.
Yeah, and I like the way that in the book as well. Like when something was destroyed or messed up, she had to go back and it's like, did they not know how it was? Did they get this wrong, or has this been destroyed? So she'd have to go back and fix it. Like if something had the ground had given in or something had caved in, you know. So this way no longer works. This way is now blocked. I've got to fix that.
So she actually solved the maze in the book, whereas in the movie there was no real maze, and she just instantly got out of the cave.
Yeah, and even going deeper into the like what's safe to eat, what's safe to drink. She got all that information from the blood magic. And by removing the blood magic, which I understand why they did, it's how else is she going to get this information?
Yeah. There were things that I found a little bit confusing, like the whys that you don't ask sometimes when you're watching a fantasy show, that I felt like they got explained when I went back and read the book, to the point where I was like, did that happen? Or sometimes I was like, did that happen? Did they tell us that? Did I like look away for a minute, or did I miss that? And other times it helped explain something where I would be like, oh, okay, that's why. Because sometimes the thing, and I always think it's, you know, they've got like a certain amount of time, they're trying to fit it in a movie. Of course, the inner thoughts and things like that are going to be left out. I liked it enough. Even though I was more in the neutral to like, I was more in the like category before reading the book. I don't know if other people who really hated it would want this, but I almost felt like it could be a 3-part series just to get more of the things that were either taken out or not explained, things that made sense after reading the book. I never understood, again, not a lot of the characters had an arc. So the few people who did have an arc are the ones that stand out. One is Eloyd, and then the stepmother, she has the arc because, you know, the father also, I needed more of his arc. The thing that I wish that they had done in the book is start us a little bit earlier with the stepfather's change, because it doesn't seem like he does. Because when you see the stepmother, you've seen her interactions, and she's like, things are not right. I need to go warn her, and we got to go. So hers made sense. The dad seemed like he was just like, no, this is the way it's got to be. This is it. This is it. This is it. And
like, then I read the fine print. I knew this.
I know what we're doing. She's going to die, and we need the money, the riches, and stuff. I get it. He seems like, I get it. I'm cool with this. And then one day, a couple days later, he's like, got to go rescue her. And it's like, when did that change happen? And we don't get that really in the book either.
Well, it kind of works a little bit in the book, because at least he was at the ceremony in the mask, and like she recognized him.
That's true. Yeah, that is true.
He wasn't there in the movie.
Yeah. So in the movie, he's there when the thing where she's getting dumped over into the dragon pit. So maybe that moment is where he realizes, oh no,
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know
where his moment is. I don't know where his moment is. All I know is that one day he's got a crew of men. And he's like, help me get in here. I'm like, how do you know she's not already dead? Like, dude, you're a little bit too late. Where the stepmother, we see this arc, but her arc is more understood in the book, because then we get this part where we find out, because you're like, how do these two people end up together? At least in the beginning, he seems like squishy, squishy, lovey dad. You know, these are my girls. They can do no wrong, whatever they want. You know, I'm a girl dad. He seems like girl dad, and then he flips, and he's not. He's like, we're chunking her. It's fine. She's gonna get eaten by the dragon. It's fine. So we're like, what? We're a stepmother. She seems cold and just like, you got to be perfect. You're not perfect. Do all this right. And then we get to see step by step. What's explained in the book about her is that she's always loved them, and how they ended up together is that she knew the mom and she was the girl's teacher, which is why she was so stern with the girls. Yeah.
The
You were
governess.
muted, Natalie, but yeah. So I feel like, even though we did get more of the stepmom's arc in the movie than we got of any of the other side characters, you get more explanation of her as well. We don't get enough explanation of the father's arc in either situation. I wish that we had, because if he's going to gather a group of men during parts of the movie that felt slow, I would have liked to see the argument with either the other daughter or the stepmom or whoever it is that makes him decide, no, we got to do something. This was a mistake. You know, what was it? I still don't know, dude. What was it that was your turnaround? I don't know.
I mean,
and for him being such an important character,
long, but we were missing a lot.
Yeah,
on characters.
Yeah, characters.
Because we even got more in depth in the book. The characters that I missed, even knowing just a little bit about, was the king, like how this psychologically affected him, and I thought that was great. We also got the queen, like how she became the cold person she is and stuff.
Yeah, and the son too.
And we got the son. And then, if anybody remembers, the older brother that couldn't take it and hightailed it. So, which is why the one prince that she ends up marrying, he's actually the younger one. And he'd been marrying everyone since he was a baby.
Right.
And we got a back and forth between the prince and the mother going, wait, maybe Elodie could be your actual queen. Maybe we don't have to throw her. Do you think there's a chance? And I love that was being explored. And it was explained why they chose not to go with her. It wasn't just we picked someone random. It was they were at least evaluating who could be the next queen, who could handle this responsibility.
Yeah.
And was it ever, I think they explained that it was only sons born.
Yeah.
And everything. So there was never any princesses to give up, which actually I'm kind of glad, because otherwise that would be an entirely more psychological damage to give up your own child versus a marriage thing.
But that would have made more sense for the movie, because the dragon lost its daughters. So now there's no real price that the royal family are paying. Like, they're just basically importing women in and then sacrificing them, but they're not actually sacrificing their own children.
This is a problem that I had, is that, to me, I felt like it's one of those stories, almost Beauty and the Beast style. We did a bad thing, and now we're going to be rewarded for it, though. Kind of situation where they're responsible for basically the near extinction of dragons. There's only one dragon left. They're responsible, but they get to live in the lush land with all of the. I'm like, I feel like you're being rewarded and you're not being really punished, except for the psychological part. But if you can get your brain to a point like the queen did and her son did, where you're like, that's them, we don't care. Chunk the girl over into the den of the dragon, not our problem. And that means if you can get yourself psychologically to that place where you're like, but we're saving everybody else and everybody else gets to live wonderfully, it's worth it. Then there's no punishment. You're only being rewarded. You're continually being rewarded for doing the bad thing.
I would say there is a punishment, because in a way, there is a punishment because they were never able to have princesses. That, like, some girls, like, we want a daughter. We never had a daughter. And I know plenty of women who are like, I'm a boy mom, and they're happy with it, but they're also, I mean, I'm sure you've seen it where it's the TikToks or whatever, where someone is like, they got 4 boys and she's pregnant, and they're just like, come on, please, girl, come on. Like, or the other way where family has like 4 boys and 4 girls, and they're waiting for the son, and the dad's like, come on. You know, and and I've seen it both ways. So I feel like in a way that is a punishment. It's not, I mean, they still get to have kids, so
they're still a very prosperous nation based on the dragon. And
as long as they're shelling out the kids. But I will say the other thing that I feel that was so great in the book, besides the blood magic, was, and this is kind of a cool tidbit, the dragon language. The dragon language was created by the author's 12-year-old daughter. And what is so cool about it is that the language, it makes you realize how much your experiences affect language. So dragons don't see themselves as like sky lizards or whatever, but what we would compare. No, they see their name translates, the name they gave themselves in the book, it translates to power of the sky. So it's just that's their perception of where they are in like the hierarchy of the food chain, I guess. But I thought that was really great, and Elodie's intelligence was able to come out more because she was able to decipher and be like, wait a second, because she was getting like English meshed with dragon language, and was able to, by context, figure out names and such. And so, which is nice, because I will say the blood language with the princesses, that wasn't her being clever, that's her being told the answer.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the movie is nothing but her being told the answer.
True. And everything. Exactly. There was no, like, the most she had was like, okay, following her finger, and it was like this chamber, then this chamber. And it's one path connecting. I was like, that's a labyrinth, not a maze. A maze has multiple choices. Labyrinth, you just keep walking around. But the things I missed were the other side characters, how it affected them. Such as the kings and such, the older brother, the stepmother, of how she became cold as she is, instead of just, sure, grab them, whatever. And then, like, at least there seemed to be at least some turmoil in the book, not just don't mess with me attitude. And I did like the twist, because I will admit, you hear stepmother and you automatically think Cinderella. And there's just a bad connotation with stepmother in society as a whole. And it was nice to see a story arc where it was the stepmother that was the driving factor to help save her, even though she didn't. She ended up saving herself. But it wasn't in the book. Didn't the little sister die?
No.
She was captured, but
she was. Yeah, so
I mean, that happened
it was captured. Okay, I couldn't remember, because I read this back in January and watched the movie back in January because I'm impatient. And then I suggested we should do it. But everything I've said so far is stuff that stuck with me since then, and so I feel like that should carry some weight of how good it is in the book. But
I think that there were some little
side stories. I like character development.
Yeah, there were some little differences in when Eloise ran into the stepmother after she had saved herself, and then when the sister got taken, and then so there were just a little bit of differences, and I was like, oh, maybe I should go back and watch, because I don't remember now, but I'm pretty sure that she ran into both of them. And I'm
in the book, she was in the woods and she was hiding, and like they rode by with Elodie, and so then she's like, something bad happened, so she kept riding forward and then met up with her stepmother. In the movie, there's just nothing. There's just teleportation. There were Game of Level Thrones, Game of Thrones level teleportation between the different scenes. Like,
Yeah.
after
The time felt weird. Like, I couldn't really tell how much time was passing
Mhm.
just because of how long Eloise was in the mountain trying to map her way out versus when was the next wedding gonna happen and why are they still there? They're still working things out. So I'm like, is this 1 day, 2 days? Like, it's
Yeah.
a very short amount of time. But I felt like when we were with Ellie in the mountain, it felt like it would have been longer. And then we go out of the mountain and we're like, oh no, it has only been a day or two.
Yeah, which that did confuse me. Now that I knew that the other girl she saw in the other tower in the movie was another bride, and then there was one that's following after her, and I was like, and then yet we have brides of the past that had drawn on the wall and put all this effort into surviving and leaving messages for any future princesses. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, well, if someone came in before her, are we just saying that they weren't good enough and
Yeah.
they were quick to die?
In the movie, I think no.
Yeah.
In the movie, she actually ran by like the burned body or whatever, and she recognized some crown or something that the woman had, or like a necklace.
Yeah.
The necklace that she burned, was that it? There was something, some stupid thing in the movie where she knew that the woman had died and been burned alive, and like hadn't even made it to the safe chamber.
Yeah. And my thought because my brain is like, wait, but if the other girls had survived, why did the dragon not get upset and demand something then? And I'm thinking it must be because that as long as they were still in the mountain, the dragon felt like, okay, these are my playthings for a while. We'll stretch this out. There can be 2 or 3 of them down here. It's fine.
And
I'm gonna have fun. But it's when Eloise got out of the mountain that the dragon was like, hold up.
Yeah. No, the dragon in the book was very much into the game. It's like, ooh, we have a clever one. This is awesome. Like the game's not over as quick as the others and stuff. And so it really relished that back and forth.
And that was the thing, is that like there were multiple women who had made it that far in the survival game, and so they were like the special ones that the dragon took really special interest in. And that's why there was this back and forth between the dragon and Elodie in terms of talking, and that they talked enough that Elodie was able to learn enough of the dragon's language, which was
and then
really,
I
really
feel
cool.
like there was some respect there from the dragon for her. Like, I mean,
she starts insulting the dragon back to it, and that was pretty cool.
But no, by actually knowing the dragon language, it was like, you know my language, and then I will say I did enjoy. I feel like the ending was stronger in the book than the movie.
I 100% agree. Back and forth on the ending, because some people are like, they're glad that she didn't turn into a dragon at the end. We're in full spoilers, guys. And some people are like, we didn't need that. I'm good with it either way.
I'm good with the melding.
I like the melding.
Dragon. Yes.
Yeah, I'm good with the dragon human mix thing. I'm like, that's cool, but I'm fine with that either way. But I don't mind a dragon, a girl turning into a dragon. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen that of a girl dragon, like a girl that's mixed dragon, whatever. But and then as well as her skin being different and stuff. But she stole like a lot of gold and stuff like that too, and so it was that defeat the dragon and the country, but also save my country.
Right. And I thought in the book, doesn't she like end up ruling the country that she took over afterwards? Like
yes.
Yeah.
Like the entire people like shifted from like fearing the dragon and appeasing it to be like, oh, she's our.
Yeah. I think
he deserves.
One of the things that confused me a little bit is, okay, so Ben was alluding to this earlier in some of the critiques of it. What is happening now? Because if the dragon is cool with things, why would the land now not be any good? And also, I'm like, why would anybody want to go back to the desolate lands? Like, I'd be like, wouldn't everybody like, are we not trying to spread the wealth now? I'm trying to figure out what's happening next. Like, how are we ending this? Some people are staying, some people are going, but is winter coming still? Like, I don't know if I need to know what's happening next, or if I'm just not clear on what happens to the land now that the dragon's not at odds with the
We
people.
need to know, do they have to import their like fruits and veggies, or can they grow it? Okay.
Yeah, what's happening now?
So the movie didn't actually clarify this. That is 100% a fault of the movie. In the book, it was kind of like, I felt like the dragon mixed with the volcano was what was helping to prosper the land. So it wasn't necessarily clear if the dragon had magic that was making the crops grow in the country or whatever. But like I was saying, I mean, I will outright say it. Because of what Elodie did. So first of all, that country that was sacrificing the women, they have no ruling class anymore, so they are just toast. They're going to be in civil war for years and years and years. But Elodie is going back, and there's no way she has supplies enough for her people as well. She's also bringing back a dragon who's got to eat at least a cow a day, or at a minimum. So both countries are now completely just trashed at this point. Like, they are not going to survive winter.
Oh, no.
I just remembered this, and I totally forgot about this thread, but there was a little girl from the village that knew the stories and stuff, and was trying to warn Elodie, because Elodie saved her from a group of boys. And then it turns out that little girl's mother in the book was somebody at the palace. I forget who.
Wasn't it the guard?
She's the one. No. She's
that ushered them, that guided them back.
Maybe, but she's also the one that goes out on the boats and is like, "This is a
who
woman
that
needs
finds
to be."
the girls.
Yeah,
so she's the matchmaker.
Evaluates the potential princesses to bring back to the country.
Yeah, so she so she was waiting for someone to believe in or something, or she was inspired by her daughter, but just this entire side story. And then there was something that she did that kind of helped empower.
She interrupted the wedding and was like, "This is wrong." She was one of the red flags. Like, this little girl runs in and is like, "You can't marry this guy." Yeah, and get out while you can.
So she's the one that was the daughter. I have a question. The daughter she's the one who interrupted the wedding, but then got kind of like knocked out and dragged away, and they said, "Don't. She's a little drunk. Don't worry about her.
Don't worry about her." Yeah.
And was she the same girl that was being picked on by the boys? Okay, so this is the same girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then her mother, her mother did something. I forget what.
I think she put in ropes in like one of the caves.
Oh yeah, because I was like, her mother helped in some way. She was inspired by her daughter. It took me a while, but that sounds about right. Was like putting ropes and stuff so Elodie could climb out.
Mm-hmm. And the cool thing in the book is that there's like this actual undercurrent of a society within the country that's like, hey, this is not okay. We need to kind of start a revolution. And there were like whispers of it, but
give some diversity to the village. Like, not everyone should be okay with this.
Yes, because it almost makes no sense unless everyone is, because that is a lot. 3 girls every year.
That's what pissed me off about the book. I was like, to do the math and to travel around the world, I don't
800
care.
years. Hold on, let me do the quick. Well, yeah.
Like,
sorry.
That's like in 100 years, that's 300 girls. And then not to mention, I'm trying to think logistically, like, we got a king who already has a queen, but they haven't had a kid yet. So what
happens in those 5 years? Because the younger son was 5. So
yeah,
there's got to be a gap. There's a gap between when the queen has the first son and the first son's able to say "I do."
Unless they have multiple, unless they have multiple brothers or something.
Oh, could be.
But okay,
because it would still.
I guess the king had a brother. They could use the king's brother until the king's son was old enough to say "I do," because you got to be able to verbalize somehow that I'm marrying this person, right?
I mean, the whole thing is forced, anyways. Yes.
Sorry. We're tearing apart the physics of this world.
It's 2,400 women have been killed over the 800 years, which means that there's got to be like 2,400 different countries that they go to find these princesses.
And nobody knows.
Or they
That's the
get
thing. Like,
sisters.
no one
Sure.
Or
notices.
do they
that-
just not tell the girls? They just like all the guys know and they just don't tell the girls outside of the kingdom? Because the queen didn't seem to know, or not the queen, the stepmother didn't seem to know until she got there, and it's like,
Same with the dad.
this
The
is
dad didn't know
strange.
until he was told. Like
I would say
there's a
they would have to have enough countries to rotate between, or at least villages, maybe inside countries, so that they don't repeat going back to one until every 200 years.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
say would be
feel
enough
like-
time for it to elapse where they forgot. Oh, we my
Yeah,
great
you
great
just
great
came and got
grandmother's
you just came
sister.
got a girl 2 years ago.
Oh, and you got to assume there's like
a
a circle
Is
of
she
like
okay?
100 miles that they cannot go and pull a princess.
Oh yeah,
from.
because then rumors and stuff spreading.
Mhm.
of
Yeah.
everything. Like, it's, to me, it's a mass murder, like serial murder situation where I'm like, how do they get away with this? And
Yes. Yes. How does everybody not rioting?
because
Money.
even like just take America. Now we have modern technology and stuff, but even before modern technology, and we just had the phone and stuff. So I mean, there was still eventually still cops talking to other cops from other states and comparing similar murders
Yeah.
and realizing
Yeah. And the thing is, there have always been newspapers. I mean, we human beings, we
Yeah.
love spreading our gossip, if nothing else. A royal family marrying someone, that word's going to
Oh,
spread.
yeah.
And so people in another village are going to be like, wait a minute, Prince so-and-so, didn't he marry one of the girls from our village 2 years ago?
Mhm.
yeah, because even
Where
if
is
not
she?
in the
Is she
country,
okay? Yeah.
even if not in like the prosperous country that they're getting married, because they know, oh, we should probably not advertise. We got 3
Yeah.
weddings a year. Other countries where we like, oh, our beautiful Elodie has gone to this country for our to marry, and we will reap
Yeah.
the benefits or something, whatever.
What are you talking about? My daughter went there 5 years ago. She's the princess now.
Yeah,
Or,
and
you know,
because wait, do they have to go noble for these girls?
No,
or
because
can-
they mix the blood with like the royal blood comes from the princes when they cut their hand and then mix it
so
together.
they can technically grab anybody, which does open the field a little bit. And actually, it's smarter to grab other village girls versus nobles.
yeah,
But
and
still,
I would think that to grab a regular girl would probably cost them less because, like,
True.
Elodie's dad needed provisions for his whole kingdom area, his whole
that would-
village or whatever.
That would
But,
raise suspicion, though, if you have a prince who just keeps marrying commoners. Like he's marrying 3 commoners in a week. Like
all of this
that
is
would raise
raising suspicion. All of this is raising suspicion.
Everything
It's
about
like,
this falls apart.
hey,
under
what
the
happened? Wow, your farm is looking really good. Dude, what happened to your eldest daughter? Oh, my eldest daughter just married a prince. And be like, really? Because old dude down the road said same thing. His farm's looking great too. I got a daughter. Who are these princes? Oh, that's the same name as the other guy. What?
Mhm.
like I'm just imagining the story plot. It's like this could have been easily a comedy of people like going, oh, wait, this prince is cheating on all of our daughters, and then it's like, oh no, it's actually worse.
You should write that. It's just an in-depth journalism of somebody going across country and country to figure out that the ruling family is just killing off daughters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go into
so which one would you watch first, or like read or watch first? I'm curious about that. If for someone who has not consumed either, what do you suggest?
Read the book, don't watch the movie.
Yeah. I'm kind of glad that I watched the movie first because I had no idea that it was a book. And so I thought, oh, that was fun. You know what I mean? Did I think it was groundbreaking or anything like that? No, but it was fun.
Yeah.
It was fine. I had questions. But I was like, it was good. It was on a low level, like I was like, just like anything on that level. It was low level, like, and then I read the book and I was like, why didn't we get this? Why didn't they tell us that? Why?
Yeah, I
Oh, this
feel like
makes so
the
much
writing
more
could have been
sense.
better.
Now I have more questions. Yeah.
We could have
So
incorporated more, not everything. I know putting a book to a movie or even a show is difficult. I mean, hell, even Good Omens and Holes, who are like on point, as we talked about here, of like their differences. Like it's like 2 differences per each, but it still was difficult. And I understand that, but at the same time, you can write better to like for scenes and stuff. You can convey multiple things by just one action.
yeah. Yeah, it's hard. This one's hard to say which one to read first, unless you're like Ben, who's like just read the book, just read the book. But I will say, I enjoyed the movie better before I read the book, and then I realized what I wasn't getting.
Yeah, it's not a rewatch for me. I don't regret it. I did watch it first because I didn't know there was a book. Then I found out there was a book. Actually, Mama Maggie is one who told me on one of the streams, and I was like, okay, well now I'm gonna go do that. And I actually put this on my TikTok for anybody who's curious. I do on my TikTok under Writer Locke, I do book versus picture, and I'm not saying which one's better. All I'm saying is if you haven't consumed either, which one I recommend you consume first, whether it's a show, movie, or the book. And I will admit, in this, I had to go back and see what I recommended just to double check. But I did recommend the book first for this one.
Yep. Let's do our best and worst changes. So for me, worst change would be just a lot of the things that are missing that that help things make sense, that help characters make sense, and help with that help you understand what's happening in the story. The best change, I liked that there was felt like there was a little bit more foreshadowing in the movie, just as you're going. And other people might feel differently, but I don't like horror, so anytime that anything feels ominous, like my radar goes up a little bit. So as they're going into the town and you see the big dragon statues, for me that's like alarms already. So I like that sense of dread when everything's supposed to be happy, joy, that we're getting these early senses of dread. I like that. I like the way the movie showed that. And then I liked the early getting some of the arc of the 2 characters that we got an arc for in the movie. But I did like getting that arc earlier. And at least like I said, with the stepmother, I like the village girl, the queen, getting those little early tidbits of character. I feel like we got more of it in the book, but I think that we got those hints earlier on so that we're not just like, where this is a 180. Where did that come from? Like I felt like was all the way around with the father in the book and in the movie. Like, where'd this change of heart come from? No idea. So I appreciate getting these little bits of it earlier on in the movie. But I think that the book overall just did a better job of expanding on that arc throughout. Yeah. But I liked getting those hints before the bad actually happens. I'm like, well, the bad's happened now. Anybody else got some best and worst changes?
What about you, Ben?
I got 2 worst changes. The first one is that Elodie has no agency whatsoever in the movie. She is told every answer, every time when she in the book, every time she outwits the dragon, she does something clever, she gets away, it is either by the skin of her teeth or it is through her own intelligence that she's able to escape. She's like she solves a quick problem. In the movie, again, the map is already drawn out and there's actually an exit that is shown on the map that she tries to go to. And every moment where she's caught by the dragon, something just completely random, like there's one of the people who her father hired who is still alive, who like makes a noise, and so the dragon, instead of killing Elodie right then and there, flies off to take care of this guy. Like there's so many just stupid things there. So again, Elodie in the movie has no agency whatsoever. But the ending itself is the worst ending I can think of, because again, we described how like the what I think will happen when after the movie's over, but the actual ending is so much worse. I posted the video in our private chat about this, because they are it's them on a boat sailing back to Elodie's country, and there is no land in sight of the boat, so they are open water, and the navigator, the person driving the boat, asks Ellie like, hey, where are we going, even though they're already out in the middle of the ocean, and her response is home. And then it's like, this is supposed to be this like big epic thing, and it's just the dumbest line I could ever think of. There's the video that I sent you all was just making fun of every rom-com ever, because it's this woman walking to a taxi, and the taxi driver's like,
he's not that into you, I think, or something like that from the movie. But it's oh god, what's her face from 50 Shades of Grey?
Oh, Dakota Johnson.
Dakota, yeah. So
it's her getting into the cab, and it's like, hey, where do you want to go? And she's like, home.
It's all
and it's like this big momentous moment, and then the taxi cab's like, listen, I don't know where you live. I'm not a stalker. Like, where is home? And it was the exact same ending in this movie.
Yep.
Because honestly, first off, if it's not our crew, she would have to tell him where. And then second, if it is her crew, they're already in the middle of the ocean. He knows. Like,
yeah, he's not asking.
Right.
Like, it's usually as you're pushing off the dock, land still within sight, that you're getting your heading. Okay.
Or if you're negotiating in the dock itself, still on land, like, hey, where do you want to go? Home. Okay, fine. Sure, whatever. But yeah. So I don't know. I don't have a best change.
Wait, so that was your two worst changes. Do you have a best?
I don't think Ben has the
No.
I couldn't think of anything that was done better in the movie than in the book.
Okay. So my worst change is I miss the side characters. To me, the side characters created a dimension of not everyone's just cold and everything. And because in the movie, everyone in the village, town, whatever, the kingdom is cold. Like, as in, I don't care. They're dying. Next. Bring the next bride. Like, they want a conveyor belt pretty much. Whereas in the book, we definitely got more diversity of not everyone was okay with it. And even the queen shared her qualms about it at times, and the king's qualms. And like, we just got a lot more diversity than cold. That is the worst change. The best change, not making it happen every year.
Fair enough.
Yes.
That to me was the best change they could have done, because logistically, I'm just saying, we already talked through it. But other than that.
Oh my gosh. When I was reading the book, I literally had to go back and was like, wait, what?
I did too. That was the biggest shock value for me in the book, when I was like, wait a second, like I'm You know
what I mean? I'm like, what? And my brain is like, I know I need to suspend my disbelief a little bit, but that's a lot of freaking girls every year.
Yeah, no, you're a serial murderer. I mean, you still are when it's once a generation, but still, whatever.
Yeah. All right. So, any final thoughts on this one? And then we'll talk about what we're going to be reading and watching next.
It's done. Not going to repeat. There is things that stuck in my mind that were done well, but it's not one that, like, if it's on TV, I'm like, oh yeah, sure, I'll watch this again. Or if I'm trying to look through my books and see what to reread, it's just not.
Yeah.
At this time.
Yeah, it's not on a rewatch for me either. I'm not mad that I watched it. Like I said, before I read the book, it was fine. We do our family movie nights, and I'm kind of wish that this had been done during one of the family movie nights, because I have a feeling that it's one that they'll want to watch, and I'll be like, I can pass on this one. I'll go write something. You know what I mean? It wasn't. I didn't think it was terrible, but it's just it it was fine. It was fine. I read the book. The book was better, so I'm good. So if your tastes are anything like mine, that's probably where you'll fall in it. It's good for a one-time watch, and then you'll just move right along.
Yeah, I still have pages and pages of notes. We don't need to get into it. I did not enjoy the movie. I watched it while I was working out, so I was at least doing something productive.
I
The
was
book
going
is
to say
pretty
it wasn't
good.
time wasted.
Yeah, it wasn't time wasted. So the book is pretty interesting. The book has a really good premise. Sure, killing off 3 women every year. You're right. That scale doesn't actually add up very well. But again, the book, very entertaining, very well done.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a movie.
Agree. Yeah, then there's the movie. All right. Thank you guys for dealing with us with that.
It was entertaining.
We can't love everything. We can't love everything, guys. Coming up next, though, we are going to be doing Dune Part 2. I'm excited for this one because I really my husband wants to watch this one, so I started watching without him. He's like, "No, watch without me." So, so I'm like, "Ugh." So I'm excited to watch it. I probably will dive back into the book just to. Dune is one that, even though I'll reread it, it's thick, guys. It's dense. It's a lot.
But you only have to read the second half.
That's true. Only have to read the second half. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing if things that I missed, things that I've forgotten. So at least that there has been enough time away from it that I'm like ready to feel like I'm ready
you have
to
enough time to go through it all. Otherwise, you might have to DNF just by timing, which we have done in the past, by the way. There's been DNF due to just time. It was like I just couldn't read it before we went on air.
Yeah. Yeah. And DNFs are totally legit. It's part of the reading and watching process. If we start a movie and we're just like, nope, fell asleep, that's it, then that's it. That's what happened.
I've done that with a few movies. Like it's opening. I fell asleep in the theater one time. It was Batman Begins. Like, I mean, actually, I fell asleep during the loudest part, like when the buildings are blowing up. Like,
that was actually a good movie.
That's usually when
I went back and watched it. It was I had been up for like 18 hours straight. Situation. So I just I fell asleep. And then there was another time. Oh yeah, I fell asleep. I was in Europe and traveling back with family to be back with the family. And for some reason, my husband's like, "You're back home. Let's go watch a movie together." And I fell asleep. Oh no, that's when we were in Germany, and then I came back from the States from a quick trip or whatever. And I came back from the States, and immediately this day I come back, my husband's like, "Let's go to the movies." I fell asleep. Yeah. Just
it wasn't gonna happen. We weren't gonna make it. It wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, but no, I concur with you of that. Ben, I'm assuming you're never going to do it again.
Which?
All of it.
Damsel or?
Yeah.
Ben's like,
so hopefully not rewatch. But Dune 2, you haven't watched it yet, right?
I haven't. I've seen the first one.
So it'll be recent for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And everything. And then we'll just see where the pieces fall regarding the book.
So we'll let you guys know. Stay tuned for those of you who like to hang out with us live. And if you're watching this on the replay, they will go up on my channel at the beginning of the month. So you'll have the date for the live. But usually it's one of the middle Sundays that we try to do these. So
and usually around noon, like Eastern time, noon, 2 o'clock. I think the latest we had was 4 one time.
Yeah. If there's a lot going on, we push back to 4. But yeah. Check us out, guys. I'm going to go ahead and let Ben and Natalie do their outros. We'll go backwards this time. Ben, kick us off with the outros.
Sure. So every Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, I give questionable writing advice through writing metaphors. If you want to stop there and tell me how wrong I am about Damsel and that's the best movie ever, go right ahead. If not, well, I have 3 books out now, and maybe 2 years from now, I'll get a 4th one out. So take care, and I will see you all next month.
Yeah. Natalie Locke, you can I'm most active on Instagram and TikTok under Writer Locke. And yeah, stay tuned because I do very much enjoy taking a book and putting it in a moving picture media, whether that's a show or a movie. So that's where a lot of my content is. Of Instagram is all the books I'm reading, so you'll probably see some upcoming, and then TikTok is that comparison of which one I recommend, which I have like over 25 now listed there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I'm Nia the Vixen of Fiction all over the internet. You're here on my channel. Thank you guys so much for coming. I read and I write. I also absolutely love adaptations. Something about seeing what someone has written, seeing someone else's vision of that put on the big screen or the small screen is fascinating to me. I always like, would I have done it that way? So I love doing this. And I'm so glad that Ben and Natalie were all in when I decided, hey, I want to do this thing. And they're like, yes, let's do this. So I appreciate that. It's so fun. I love getting everybody's opinions. I love seeing where everybody falls on something. Because I'm like, I feel like I'm the easy to please one. So I'm like, is it just me? Am I just excited to see this thing?
That's something we should do. Is we gotta go back and record how each of us rated things and see whether or not we're really happy or more likely to give something a negative review.
Where we fall, like what is our meter? Like that'd be a lot of fun. All right, guys, thank you so much for coming to hang out with us. Let me pop this down and we're going to say goodbye. Really appreciate you all. Bye. See you next time.